one other thing that I think, just like an overall NFL story standpoint, I don't think there's a dud in the bunch for a matchup for the Super Bowl. I think like Washington, obviously, like this is their first time to the conference championship in more than 30 years. It not by the same name, but they are at like they are a franchise that has a significant history in this league. The Philadelphia Eagles have been one of the marquee teams throughout the history of the NFL and have certainly established that in the last 20, 30 years here. So either of those is great. Buffalo, you have a superstar right now. Obviously, there is a bit more of a tortured history, but still there is a history of at least some excellence with the Bills. And then you have the Kansas City Chiefs, a modern day dynasty. So that there isn't a bad matchup in the bunch there. So I don't think there's a like overall big league like, oh my God, the league would fall apart if this team got in there, because we're past that point with this league just in general anyway. But I do think, looking at this, the one thing that has really intrigued me, we've had a bit of a, like I said, an anti-running back stance in the league for a while. I don't think that's going to shift. I think that depending on who gets in, it's like, we're talking about like, well, James Cook, like he has turned himself into an elite running back in the NFL. I don't think that was necessarily where they thought he was going to be. He's a second round pick. So I don't think that you can use that as like well, let's draft Austin Gentry then at 12 or anything like that. But I also don't think it's just get a 7th round running back and pick him off the heap. That is, however, the Isaiah Pacheco story, right? And even like they have Kareem Hunt, who is someone who was at one point a very sought after running back, but wasn't when they brought him in. And he has turned that around. And yeah, Pacheco is a 7th round pick in 2021. So I am not making great points to start this argument, but I do think that there could be at least a little bit more of this, I guess, like phase might be the word, but I think there's going to be a little bit more of this progression where teams don't necessarily sell out for a wide receiver, because the number one wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills is kind of their running back. They tried to trade for Amari Cooper, and he hasn't clicked there so far. They have a bunch of number 2s and a couple of interesting tight ends. The Kansas City Chiefs are a unique one in this because they have the maybe like a top 3 at least tight end in the history of the sport. And so, I mean, yeah, like that helps, but he is not what he was, right? Like he is not this dominant fixture on this line in this offense anymore until the postseason. And then you look at the rest of the wide receivers, like Worthy is a really fun deep option, but he is a number 2 at best. Juju Smith-Schuster's probably a number 3 at best, and DeAndre Hopkins just isn't that guy anymore. Washington, Terry McLaurin has broken out this season, but going into this year, I think that more people would have viewed him as a number 2 than a number 1. And the rest of the receiving options, like, forget about it. And then Philadelphia, they do have the big guys, right? Like, they traded for A.J. Brown. They drafted Devonta Smith coming off of a Heisman Trophy win. But so they are the outlier in this. But I do wonder if teams start to take a look at this. And like we've already seen, Baltimore essentially punted on it. Punted on wide receiver for a bit. They've tried a couple of things to bring guys in, but they've kind of settled on good enough. The Chargers, kind of same thing. That needs to change probably a little bit, but we've seen a lot of teams, especially when they have to pay their quarterback, a number of teams go, we're paying this guy to make everyone around us better. So we're just going to kind of punt on receiver and let the quarterback be awesome and try to make these guys good. It's the New England Patriots method, right? Like, yes, they had Randy Moss and they had a 16-0 regular season and almost had an undefeated year until, got cut a ball in his head. But aside from that, it's Deion Branch and it's Wes Welker and it's Julian Edelman, all fine, but not superstar level guys in almost any other offense. Not to take any like unnecessary shots at them, but it's just, I do wonder if the league kind of looks at this because it is a copycat league. I wonder if the rest of the league looks at this and, hey, you know what? Maybe we don't need the super duper number 1 wide receiver right now. So that's just kind of an overall story I am looking at going into the conference championship here this weekend.